Welcome to a brand new segment of the K&D podcast series, K&D Movies, where we will break down movies new and old and discuss our thoughts and feelings. We hope you enjoy.
Let me just get back into this. Yo, welcome back to the K&D Exchange. I am your host, KD, joined by my host, David. David, what's new with you, my dude?
SpiderMan No Way Home is new with me.
It is pretty new with you, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually can't wait to get into it. Talk to the people and let's get into it.
All right, let's do this. Okay, so for those returning listeners, thank you very much for supporting us. For those who are new, we, in our general program, do a weekly exchange of albums, of music to listen to, where one of us comes in brand new to an album that the other person has suggested, and vice versa. Every 2 weeks, however, we alternate. So every other week, we do some kind of bonus content where we discuss movies, we do our own solo reviews of our choosing. And so this week, we are wrapping up the first trilogy that we've been talking about in our little movie segments, which has been the Spider-Man, but the MCU version, Spider-Man movies. We're both big MCU fans, but as David explained in the other episodes, you should go and listen to those. There's been a few gaps in the viewing history, and so with Spider-Man being the hot topic at the moment, until the Batman rolls in, I think next week, or whenever it comes out, the Spider-Man's always been the hot topic. We decided to get David to actually, get up to date on this particular franchise. Again, listen back to the old episodes. He definitely explains why, and I understand why. But we've got your boy David to actually check out the third and final installment so far when it comes to the Spider-Man live-action lore. I think we should just dive right in, because it looks like, from the look on your face, that you have a lot to say. And bear with us as well, to the audience. We're trying a different approach with our recording. We're doing this through a different platform now. We're just going to kind of see how this works, see how this goes. So, don't mind us for anything that goes off, although we'll try and fix it in post. But David, I know you're on the edge of your seat, man. And I'm on the edge of my seat to hear what you're going to fucking say. So, let's go in. Floor's yours. Bang.
This is the best Spider-Man movie ever made.
Yes. Okay, cool. All right. Explain.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so the runtime's about 2 hours, 2 hours 20? Like 2 hours 15, something like that. I did not feel the time go away at all. I didn't feel bored at any particular point. I had one moment where I was like, not really on board with one thing that really happened. We'll get to it. But there is so much in this movie. It moves so quickly. Yeah. And I think that one of the main things about this film, it does a lot, but one of the main things that we haven't really seen in the MCU, well, not often enough in the MCU, is stark, horrible consequences to your actions. So, in the original, Tobey Maguire trilogy, he was always dealing with the real life struggle between, being Spider-Man and also the personal cost. Like, he lost a lot.
Yeah.
And in the in Andrew Garfield, like obviously he loses a lot again. He sort of balances being Spider-Man with real life, but in the MCU Spider-Man in the 2 previous installments, in Homecoming and Far From Home, there were stakes, but there weren't really any consequences. But in this film, they sort of bring that all to a close where it is the ultimate sacrifice that Spider-Man ends up making at the end. And it is an establishing or a re-establishment of the status quo of Spider-Man. And again, we will get into that. I felt that this movie was a lot. I mean, seeing Alfred Molina again was honestly, it was. I was beaming. I was smiling. Willem Dafoe is a beast.
What an amazing guy.
He's a monster. Wow. There's the fighting is the fighting. We'll get into that. Jamie Foxx, I thought he was completely different to how he was perceived in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But this guy, when he came, he was, and to pardon the pun, but it was the way that he comes in and he's just power hungry. He's just like, the power's different here. I want more of that. And he senses the arc reactor of Tony Stark and he's like, give me that. And he goes power mad. I like what they did with the Sandman because I think, didn't the original Sandman pass away? Like quite close.
No, he's still alive.
Oh,
wait,
good.
Wait.
Okay,
do you mean
cool.
The character or do you mean the actor?
The actor, I thought he passed away.
I
No,
don't think so. No, because that's his voice.
Okay,
that's his voice.
Definitely, yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Well, there was a lot of callbacks with him, and I felt that he and the Lizard were used barely, but used just right. My goodness me, and the coup de grace, the killing shot to the emotional head, seeing the 3 Spider-Men. They've made me appreciate all of those movies a lot more. And I can go back now to the original trilogy and be like, Tobey Maguire, you're an absolute legend. Because he was the Spider-Man of, our youth, basically. So watching him come back, watching even Andrew Garfield come back, you could tell that there was genuine love, warmth, and affection between the 3 Spider-Men. You could tell they were really happy to be there in the movie, together. It really shone through. But even the villains as well, like when they were all buzzing to be there, there was real chemistry, and there were a couple of moments of genuine warmth. I didn't expect to. I'm not really the kind of person that gets like that emotional about stuff. But there were a couple of moments where I was watching the screen thinking, I can see why people would weep at that. I can see why, people would be moved by that because it moved me. And one thing that this movie does extra, as well as giving you dire consequences for Spider-Man and showing what a real hero he is, it blows apart and blows open the MCU now to where I watched the Doctor Strange 2 trailer finally, and I'm like, they're rolling in Shuma Gorath, who is that eye monster thing. I'm like, right, they're rolling in these level of baddies. I don't know too much about them. And they also have Patrick Stewart is in that trailer.
That's his voice.
I'm pretty
sure that's his voice.
Yeah, I know Captain Picard, right? Like I know my guy when he talks. So Professor Xavier. So I'm thinking, they are going to roll in the Illuminati then, because
we alluded to that last time.
And so when he was there, like, shall we tell him the truth? It's got me thinking that Doctor Strange, yes, he's wiped the memories of everybody, but the Illuminati are going to go, but you kind of broke the universe or the multiverse. So he's not going to remember Peter Parker, but he is going to remember. He's going to know who he is.
Right.
He'll say to him later on in the future, like, I know who you are. I know you're a Spider-Man. I can't remember anything.
Sure.
So there's going to be that kind of thing. But anyway, in a roundabout way, this movie is, it's top 3 MCU. Easy. It might even be the best one. It might even be the best one. Because Infinity War did something.
Oh, yeah.
Infinity War is my favourite. Spider-Man is the second, I think.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I remember thinking when it got to that run with Infinity War and Endgame, thinking, well, they could, like, we talked about Far From Home kind of being the epilogue or something like that.
Yeah.
It could have just ended. Like, the MCU could have just stopped after Endgame, and people, I think, they would have wanted more, but we could have been satisfied looking back. Like, yeah, that was a strong 10-year run, and we got all the way there. Sick. Because some of the critiques of Phase 4 is that we don't really know where it's heading, and there's a lot of different things just happening. But I think now it's culminating into this multiverse thing. And when I saw this movie, I remember thinking, okay, from now, when I watched Infinity War and Endgame, I was thinking, I don't know how they're going to top this. I mean, when I saw Infinity War, I thought, what are they going to do with Endgame? And then we get to Endgame, and I'm thinking, where can they go from here? And then now I see No Way Home, and I think, okay, well, actually, no, for real now. Where are they going to go from here? And now I've seen the Doctor Strange 2 trailer, and I'm thinking, okay, all right, okay, cool. But where are they going to go after this? So there's no point in me saying that every time, because actually the ceiling keeps getting kind of broken, right? We haven't seen Doctor Strange 2, but I mean, it looks kind of crazy, And if they're willing to show, what's his name, Patrick Stewart, is that his name? If they're willing to have his voice in the trailer, when they didn't even give any kind of, they gave little nods to the original Spider-Man in the No Way Home trailer, but they were not showing a lot of that stuff.
Well, you saw it in the trailer that I saw for No Way Home. It was Dr. Octopus, and he's like, "Hello, Peter," and I was like, "Oh,
yeah, there was that."
And then you saw the Green Goblin grenade.
Yeah,
and you're like,
"That's
okay." So he's rolling.
That's in the teaser trailer. I knew Doc Ock was going to be in this film because I'd heard an interview from the original actor. Because I think originally, and we knew Jamie Foxx as well, but I didn't know if he was going to come back just to replay.
I had no idea he was going to be in that.
Oh, for real? Like,
I knew that the only information that I knew was obviously Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, because nobody could keep their mouth shut on that. Everyone was like gassing that online. But then there was also Howard Molina, and I saw the Green Goblin. I thought they were going to roll in. Who was it in The Amazing Spider-Man? I didn't think it was going to be Willem Dafoe.
Oh, you thought it was going to be the Dana?
I thought it was going to be
guy, whatever his name is.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be the Hobgoblin. Was that?
I think he was just the Green Goblin in that universe.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I thought they were going to roll him in because he was younger. But yeah, you're right, man. Like apart from that, I was pretty much spoiler free.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Because I think they originally wanted to just market it so that as if the movie was like a Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Civil War type thing, where it was them against each other.
Right.
And then only when you saw the movie, you would see these other people come in and be like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, imagine if we had no idea. And I think they had to put that in the trailer because even the actors themselves didn't keep their mouth shut, like during certain interviews. And I remember hearing Jamie Foxx was going to come back, and I thought, oh, maybe he's just going to play Electro, but the Electro MCU version, they just didn't go with a different actor. You know what I mean? Like, going to be a completely different character, but just played by the same guy. Alfred Molina, they did say that we didn't know. Kevin Feige said he didn't know if they could get anyone else to play Doc Ock, and that he was the perfect casting. So if they were going to do a Doc Ock, and Doc Ock is like a quite significant Spider-Man villain. Everyone knows about him when it comes to the Spider-Man story. So I think he was saying that they would have just got Alfred Molina again, even if it was to play a brand new version of the character. I had no idea they were actually going to pull them from their original stories. And then when I saw the teaser trailer and I saw the Green Goblin thing coming, I was like, nah, I didn't even think about him because I didn't know that he was going to be in it.
Yeah. When he showed up, my mouth was like agape.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe
Did you
it.
only see the teaser trailer?
Yeah,
Oh, that
yeah, it
must
was
have
the
been
only thing I saw.
even better then, because yeah,
I had no idea. Like Jamie Foxx, Willem Dafoe, I had no idea the lizard was going to show up. When it all happened, I was like, like mind blown.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I was sitting there with a massive smile on my face the entire time.
Same.
Like this is what a movie experience should be. Like it should be a complete departure away from your normal life. It should be bright, colourful. It should have consequences, but great action, little bits of humour. The humour wasn't overdone.
Yeah.
There was some really. It was sort of generic MCU humour, but there were some other really touching moments as well. Yeah. And I also felt that I also felt this. Everybody in that movie wanted to be there, and there were so many moving parts and so many characters that I liked all of them. I don't know how they've managed to do that, because in Infinity War there were moments where I felt that some characters got cheated out of great arcs.
Sure.
Number one, I'll say Star-Lord.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. He's one of my favourite characters in all of the MCU, like especially in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. He's a goofball, but he's got it where it counts because he knows how to fight and he's a tactician. Sure. So, but they dick on him a bit in Infinity War, and I was like, no, it's a bit where where Iron Man says to him, "Hey, you're from Earth," and he's like, "No, I'm not from Earth. I'm from Missouri."
Oh,
and I was like, "You wouldn't be that stupid."
You would know that's Earth.
However, in Guardians of the Galaxy, they always call it Terra, so I'm wondering if that's why he was kind of like, he knows it as Terra, not Earth, but. You were 8 years old when you were abducted. You would know what Earth is.
Like at the age that he was abducted. I didn't know what exact age he was, but surely he would have known that he lived on Earth.
Yeah, it's the thing that Like my son, he knew that at age 3.
Yeah,
so
right.
like you can't be that stupid. But anyway, in this movie, Ned, MJ. Happy, Hogan, great supporting character, by the way. Aunt May, every single character is so significant to the plot, and there's a lot of moving parts. That's what 12, 15 characters, big characters
as well. Yeah,
we're not even mentioning Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
I mean. This guy's got his own movie coming out, and he's got his own thing. So, all right, I'm going to jump around a bit, right? So, I've actually got some notes. I don't know if you can see it, but right, like headings. Let's talk about Doctor Strange. Number 1. Okay. I think the problem with Doctor Strange is that he works best for me when he's with other people. Right. I think he's a great source of knowledge, a bit of snarky sarcasm as well, but genuine warmth.
Yeah,
genuine warmth. There's the bit at the end. We should have mentioned at the top of the episode that there's going to be spoilers, so we're going to jump around.
That should have been a given. This is not a spoiler-free episode at all.
No, absolutely not. There is a bit at the end which. Even it was so impactful after so many impactful moments throughout this film, where Doctor Strange says to Peter Parker, "If you do this, everybody you love, we will forget you." And he's tearing up, and it was just the fact that he's always insisted on, Peter Parker don't call me sir, call me Stephen, and every time he says. So, Stephen, he's like, no, it's weird. Yeah. Like, there's kind of like a sort of a master-ward kind of relationship. Sure, but it's at that point where he's looking at him like, this is truly heroic. You don't know what you're giving up. And it was just that moment of genuine warmth. Like, kid, like, you've done a lot already. You don't need to do this. Like, Strange was willing to try and basically break himself to try and fix it. And I thought Benedict Cumberbatch is I like how they sort of like dicked him over in this film. Like they trap him in
Yeah.
certain places,
Just to get him out of the way of the
and it's
movie
like
for a little
12.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I was dangling over the Grand Canyon for 12 hours, and he's fucking pissed off. You know,
Yeah. And then the look on his face when he
he's
sees
so
the other, when he sees like Tobey Maguire drop down next to Tom Holland, and then he's like because he's like really angry about the 12-hour
Yeah.
thing, and then Peter's trying to explain, and then the other Peter drops down, and then and he's just like looks. He doesn't even listen to what Tom Holland's saying. He's just looking at this other Peter because he's wearing the same suit but different, and looks a bit older. And then he's looking at the other one, which looks slightly younger than the other one, but still older than Tom. Also in a Spider-Man suit, but slightly different. I was just like, I can't believe this is happening right now. I actually can't believe this is happening.
And it's the way that he's just sort of like taking it all in. Like, okay, multiverse. What have you done? Like, you've broken the world.
I thought there was only these guys running around that you had to capture. I didn't know there were other versions of you here. Like, yeah, that was. I really, man. That whole thing you said with the moving parts. I think it was. I was so in awe of how they made this movie flow and how smooth it was with all the stuff going on. And I was thinking, I wonder what this movie's going to be like, because we know going in that there's all this multiverse shit, and then they have these other villains, and then are they going to bring in the other two Spider-Men, and then are they going to just bring them in for the final act, like for the final fight, and they'll just be like cameos or something, or whatever. But they felt like an integral part of the movie, and yet still the villains felt like an integral part of the movie, but then also the main characters did too. Like everyone did.
Yeah.
And it was like the first Spider-Man movie, as in the first Tobey Maguire one. When you watch that now, especially, I feel like it's one of the most well-paced movies just in general. It just flows along. Is. You're like floating along a river watching that movie, because it just...
Yeah.
By the end of it, you're like, right, that was not a wasted moment, but it wasn't too intense either. Like it had the right peaks and valleys in it that kept you locked in.
Engaged.
Yeah. And that's how I felt with this one as well. I did not realize it was like 2.5 hours. If anything, I was like, at the end of it, I was like, I want more. I actually would have been okay with adding. You should have kept those scenes in. You could have added more in. Like it might have changed the flow of the movie potentially, but
yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, I was like, man, I want to see some deleted scenes like ASAP.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. Because, like, do you know, I'll harken back to Infinity War. I feel so I've only seen it twice, like fully. But on both occasions, I was exhausted after it.
Yeah.
Because everything is so high stakes. Every fight is life or death. And you're like, you know, by the end of it, by the time you get to Thanos come into Wakanda, I'm spent.
Yeah.
Like I'm absolutely spent. With this movie, I could have watched another hour and a half of Doctor Strange trying to fix it.
Yeah. I could have kept watching it.
Like, not a problem.
I know exactly what you mean.
Really well paced.
Infinity War at the end of it, I don't want to go back and watch it again straight away.
No. The next time I watch Infinity War will be when me and my son do our Marvel movie marathon. Like when he's of age. I can't do it again. Endgame again. I've seen that twice, and that's really good actually. In its pacing as well. I think it's actually done really well. This film is perfection. I think pacing wise, it just trumps anything MCU have done.
100%.
Pacing wise, we got to talk about the different Spider-Men, and also something that I picked up. Maybe that's because I'm a complete nerd, or maybe that's because this film did a lot of showing and not telling, as well as telling, right? So, and this was when Tobey Maguire first steps on screen. I was like, oh my goodness me, like chills. And same with Andrew Garfield, because when he comes in, I was like, that's not how Tom Holland runs. Right. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's one of them. And then when it was Andrew Garfield, I was like, oh, this is great. And like, there's a nice little scene with, Ned's grandma, I think it is, and Zendaya, and sorry, MJ and Tobey Maguire. And I was like, all right, cool. So that's really nice. But it's when sort of shit hits the fan with Aunt May, and they go, they sort of surmise between themselves, like, we can't get in touch with him. Where would he go that nobody else goes? And then it's just kind of like, I love that interchange. Sorry, when Tobey Maguire says, "For me, it was the Empire State Building," and then like
building.
Andrew Garfield. It's the other way around, right? Yeah, and it's just a better view there, sort of thing. And it's just like, it's quite nice to see that they're different but the same. And so they use that logic and they go and find Tom Holland. Ned and MJ give him a hug, and then I love when MJ's like, "Look, we brought some help," and he looks up, and they're both standing there, and they jump down. I was like, "Oh my goodness, the chills!"
Mate,
it was so good.
I saw this film 3 times, right? I saw it on a Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, so there's only a day in between each one. Each time I saw it, I finished it. I couldn't wait to watch it again. And I can't wait to see this again. And my brother, when I went to go see it with him the 3rd time, he had almost the exact same reaction as I did. And it was so weird. Like, I had my reaction on Wednesday, and my partner turned to me and was like, "So what did you think?" Like, when the credits rolled around. And I couldn't speak. I actually just couldn't speak. And like, and she was like, "What? You're actually speechless?" I was like, trying to move my mouth, like, where do I start? Which one? I'm trying to run through the whole thing in my head, trying to convince myself, like, this definitely wasn't a dream, and you're not just going to randomly wake up, right? And then seeing it on Sunday with my brother, but knowing what's going to happen, and kind of anticipating, like, oh man, I can't wait until this part happens, so that they see it, and then the crowd sees it, and all that kind of shit. And my brother at the end, I turned to him, did the same thing, and I was like, "So what did you think?" And he was like shaking his head, like, he's like, "I just can't." Like, and then, and we've been gunning to try and watch it again, like with my other brother, who just hasn't had a chance to go and watch it. It's still in the cinema now. And if I told my brother, like, "Let's go and watch it now," and he was able to, he'd go do it, 100%. Like, it's just, genuinely.
Listen, I'm going.
Yeah, go to the cinema and watch it in, like, with the big screen and the sound. No,
I'm gonna watch it on my J's. Like, I don't need anybody else.
That's what I did my second time.
That's what I'm gonna.
That's what I did the second time.
That's what I'm gonna have to do with Doctor Strange, because I don't know anybody that wants to go and see it. I'm like, nah, I don't need anybody else. I have to see that in the cinema.
100%. That's gonna be another event movie, probably.
Visual effects, like if he does that mirror dimension world stuff, I mean, that stuff is unreal. My eyes were like, this is pleasing to me.
When he throws Spider-Man like away, and then he just flicks his hands and does the mirror thing, and then you see him coming towards you, but then you see him come out of the mirror, and it's just like really disorienting. And the music, and just the music in this film fucking slapped. Like,
right, we're gonna get there, because there is. I don't know if I should bring it up. Right, my original point was Tobey Maguire, right? Yeah. I'm gonna. So the thing I love about him is the sensitivity that when I was younger, I was definitely not sort of tuned into. He's really, and it's made me go back and watch the original one. He had empathy, a huge degree of empathy with everybody. Even Norman at the end, he's like, I'm not gonna save you, but I'm not gonna kill you either, sort of thing. He's like, you had to die the way you had to die. Like, I couldn't stop you, but it was that degree of empathy, especially with Harry as well, where he was just like, I gotta go. What he does in this movie, and I think they hint at it, that they have different abilities, spider sense wise.
Okay.
What I mean by that is, so there's the bit where they're all meeting, and they're, the two Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire jump down, and they're like, "Hi, we're you, just in a different dimension or whatever." And when Spider-Man, MCU Spider-Man is saying, "I just want to kill him. I just want to kill him." Like, you guys don't understand. And it is the way in which, MCU Spider-Man saying, the last words she said to me with great power, and then Tobey Maguire says, comes great responsibility. And then, so that's Tobey Maguire just kind of like deliver. He knows that this Spider-Man is on like a really, really sort of knife edge emotionally. Like, he's going to go down the vengeful path sort of thing, and like want to kill Norman Osborn. And the way that he says, with comes great responsibility, boom, we're similar, automatically building bridges. And then when then I think Andrew Garfield says, "My Uncle Ben said it," and then Tobey Maguire goes,
"The day he died."
On the day he died. And it's those two lines. That's all he says. It builds a bridge between all three Spider-Men. They know what grief is. They know what he's going through. He's not alone. But also, there's another point where Tom Holland Spider-Man, MCU Spider-Man, is hugging MJ, and Andrew Garfield. This is when they're in the lab, and Andrew Garfield is looking over at him and kind of has this wistful kind of look. 1 second, you see that look. Tobey Maguire snaps his head round. Tell me about
someone.
It's just he senses like a great degree of emotional pain. I think Andrew Garfield's sense is physical pain. It's more attuned to that, because every time he gets his redemption arc, for example, with when he saves MJ and he's weeping at that point, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm all right, actually."
So satisfying, man.
That was one of the most amazing moments of this amazing. I can't even talk. It was one of the most amazing moments of a film stacked with amazing moments, right? Yeah. And it was that point that I was like, okay, cool. So he's tuned into sort of like peril, physical pain, all of that kind of stuff. But it was also at the end where they have the three Spider-Man hug, and Tobey Maguire's like, "Oh, But and it's the way that he says, "You are in way more pain than you're letting on," or something like that, or "That hurts way more."
Pain, aren't you?
And so and so that was what I was thinking, like, that spider sense. Maybe there's like different kinds of spider sense.
I kind of agree, because I think, we talked about the spider sense last time and how they tuned it in, and how in this one they even went back to the original sound of the ding sound that they used in the other one. It's like he's got this fully fledged one, and one of the best scenes when he's in the apartment and he senses that something is off, and he's like having a full-on panic or anxiety attack, basically, because he's just walking around. He can't figure out, his spider sense is just going absolutely crazy, but he can't figure out where the threat is, and he has to really tune in. And because when Octavia says to Norman, "Oh, this is, how does it feel becoming whole again?" And his voice, you only see the back of his head, but his voice is slightly changed when he says "whole again," like that. And you can tell, if you've watched the original films and you've been with the Green Goblin long enough, you know that that's the Goblin speaking and not Norman at that point. But he's a bit more measured because he's trying not to give a... But to those other characters, they don't know that. We know that.
Not at all.
Yeah. And so the whole spider sense thing was done really well. To add on to that spider sense thing,
incredible.
Did you notice that when Doctor Strange pushes Tom Holland into his astral projection, those things are and his body is moving, right? So his body is moving the box away from him,
reacting.
His body's still reacting with the spider sense, but you can see it around his head. I remember seeing that.
I noticed that.
Am I thinking too deep into
That's from the games.
That's like
it's from the games.
The comic books, the cartoon.
Yeah.
It's
smart.
so good, right? In the cartoon, it was like he would have those weird dark green, blue flashing images behind him.
Yeah, it'd go neon, wouldn't it?
That's it.
Behind him, yeah. And it'd have that sound like that sound. Yeah.
It's such a perfect way of like describing just a sense, because you can't. It's like intangible.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I thought that was sick because like he's in his astral projection.
Yeah.
So that's his soul basically, or his spirit or whatever.
That's it.
But
yeah.
it's got I like the visual touch with like this fully was an ode to Spider-Man in general.
Totally.
When people described it as a love letter to Spider-Man fans, I fully got that. And I think that's probably why it also made me so emotional as well, because it was like I couldn't have imagined as a young kid, or just when the excitement of when the first the first Spider-Man film came out, and I was like, there's actually going to be a live action Spider-Man. I've been watching this cartoon. We're actually going to see a real version of him. And the guy who played Peter Parker, like, so obviously Tobey Maguire, he just seems so perfect. Mary Jane seems so everyone seems so perfect for their roles.
Yeah.
And then to get to this point where all three of them are together and all the villains are back, and it feels like not a single step has been missed. And it's just like, how? Like,
the fact that you've rolled in 5 baddies, rolled them in quick, seamlessly. What I loved about this as well, because it subverted. When I saw that they got Dr. Octopus like real quick, and then Green Goblin shows up, and then Doctor Strange portals him back to safety. I was like, oh my goodness, it's going to be the rest of the film's going to be a hunt for loads of the enemies. Doctor Strange has locked 2 up already, and you're like, oh wow, okay. And then Spider-Man gets Electro and the Sandman back double quick time. I was thinking, so now what?
Yeah.
But then we will get to one of my main complaints about this film.
Before that,
all right,
because I really want to dive into that.
Go on.
I don't know what the complaint is, but one thing I forgot with the Spider Sense thing, we talked. I don't know if we talked on here or off air about the fact that they're making that Madam Web movie, or Sony is.
We spoke about it last episode, I think. Yeah.
Now, the fact that his astral projection, this is proper nerdy Spider-Man shit, right? But do you remember from the animated show, Madam Web basically is the connector who's linked across the Spider-Verse, and she can pull in different Spider-Men or whatever, right?
Because she pulls all of these Spider-Men and even Captain America and that to take on the Beyonder.
Yeah, right.
Who is... Could they be rolling in Beyonders? Like, because if that's the case, like, they're tougher than Thanos, mate. But anyway, go on.
But
Sorry.
I was going to say, they could be alluding to the fact that there was something that happened in the comic books, basically, where Peter finds out that his spider sense is this thing that crosses dimensions and is connected to the Spider-Verse, which connects him to other spider people, right? So...
Sure.
I wonder if when they pushed him out in his astral form, and they didn't explain the fact, like they didn't explain it to the audience, the fact that his body kept reacting still. Like they didn't make it very clear that, that's his spider sense still intact. The average fan wouldn't have gauged that. Do you know what I mean? They might have thought, they'll probably explain that a bit later on or something. But they didn't. They just kind of let it happen. That could be a little hint that because it's his soul, like his spirit, and he's got the spider sense intact, that there is this web or this Spider-Verse out there, which then therefore means that there's this Madam Web who they're making a movie of, even though it's a Sony one. And that they may potentially create a kind of clone thing or something, or another Spider-Verse type event where they bring in multiple other Spider-Men who we may not have seen in live action before, but they introduce them. So the Scarlet Spider, the Iron Spider, the spider who turns into
Spider-Man Noir,
the Spider-Man who turns into an actual spider, with the fucking 8
arms
and shit. The Spider-Man who's actually not really Spider-Man, he's an actor who plays Spider-Man in his universe.
Yeah,
he can't really do shit.
Yeah,
you know?
He's just flesh guy.
Yeah, all Spider-Gwen. I think that would be really cool because I really like her design and stuff like that.
Oh, they could do was it Penny Parker, the one
yeah.
with it's from Into the Spider-Verse. That machine thing is sick. I love that. But yeah, man. Well, the thing is, I thought they were alluding to that anyway. So that wasn't the point at which I thought that they're sort of alluding to a Spider-Verse. It was at the end where Strange you see all the rips and tears through the fabric of space, and he's just like, they're all here for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, but there's countless of you look around and there's countless.
Did you recognize some of the
oh,
outlines?
No, I didn't. And that was the thing. There was one that was about to step through, and I was like, who the hell is that?
I'm pretty sure I saw Scorpion in there. I saw Rhino, Craven the Hunter. I think I saw Madam Web in there as well, because it looked like someone who was sitting on a thing.
Yeah, I thought that. But I was thinking, KD will know like more than me. Like I was so drawn in by the color purple, like in the background, because it was all just. I was like, this is beautiful. Like it's amazing. So yeah, man. Like they've broken apart the Marvel universe. Like the fact that we're now dealing with a multiverse. Like there you go. Here it is, stark and in plain view in front of everybody.
Exactly.
And it's I mean, my goodness me, it was a blast. And like sitting there as a fan, I just had a big old smile because, to be honest, like I know some of the Spider-Man movies get heat, especially Spider-Man 3 and also the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I really didn't mind them. I engaged with the Spider-Man. I thought they were brilliant.
Yeah.
Tom Holland was going to be a tough sell for me, but then seeing him in his own solo movie, the first one, he won me over because you cared about him, right? And so this film was a real, you're right. It is a love letter to Spider-Man in the sense that they give him the most ultimate and heroic act. But I do have questions about the ramifications of this act, which again we can get to later on. But back to my complaint. So it's only because, right, when Doctor Strange is saying, "Hey, Peter, what you've done is you've basically broken the multiverse. I can send it back. I can sort all the problems out. I'm just going to send them." And it's when they find out that they were taken, like all the villains were taken at the point that they were going to die. So Peter Parker just thinks, "Oh, I can cure them. I can save them." So that was my point. It's like, why wouldn't you just send them back?
Yeah.
Because me, for one, I was screaming at the TV like, send them back.
Yeah.
Because they don't belong here. They don't belong here. They're not your problem. And I suppose they're kind of leaning into... This is why this is less of a Disney movie. It felt like more of it felt like a Sam Raimi movie. The amount of heart in it. And the fact that MCU Spider-Man is like, no, I can actually do some good. Like, I can help. Yeah. I just felt that was a tiny bit flimsy. They didn't flesh it out. Like, he didn't really have too much of a reason why.
Sure. Considering,
he's pacified 3 of the Sinister Six. And also throughout this movie, I was always counting, like, how many villains are there? There's 5. One more is going to show up. I'm convinced one more is going to show up. And when it didn't, I was like, oh. And I got to the end stinger and I was like, there he is. There he is. But anyway. I just felt that it was a bit flimsy.
I knew that,
that was it.
Because for me, how I thought about it was, for one thing, this Peter Parker is still he's about to go to college, I think.
He's still super young.
But also not even just that. I think from watching it a couple times, what I really picked up was that they really were trying to show that Aunt May is the one who was saying to him, you have this responsibility, you have this duty. And she was kind of leading up to the whole, her saying, with great power, great responsibility. And you know how much this is a love letter to Spider-Man? She says it word for word, exactly as it said in the comic books. Even with the must also come great responsibility. I listened to a fucking podcast episode where this guy who's like, dick rides the Raimi trilogy. And he was just annoying me throughout the whole thing. And he was like, she didn't even say it right. She didn't even say it right. It's not even accurate. It's not even the right line. I was like, bruv, clearly don't know what you're talking about.
You clearly don't know.
Clearly don't. And it doesn't have to be word for word accurate. You sound like you just want to hate, right? But like, if you really want to get down to,
was his voice like, hey, she's not even saying it properly.
It actually was. I'm not even lying to you.
You need to get on a dialysis machine and a treadmill. Shut up.
Oh man, but yeah, like
Anyway.
like if you really want to get into the granular detail of why this is like a love letter, even down to details like that. But yeah, it felt like she was the one who was pushing him to be like, he was the one saying, look, I've just got to round them up. It's not my problem. It's not my problem. I want to go to college. I want to do this with whatever, you know?
But that was because, now we're talking it through, but that was because Norman showed up and he looked pitiful.
Yeah.
And he was like, when he was just like, there's somebody living in my house.
Yeah.
My company doesn't exist. I'm a man out of time, and he was broken. And she even says to him, he's lost. Yeah. Like the way that she says it, like
even inside, she gauges that even inside something is a bit off with him, not just he's a homeless man.
Yeah, good point.
And I like the fact that he was wearing his purple and green colours.
Yeah,
as a little throwback to the original.
I picked that up. I picked that up as well.
Willem Dafoe is scary enough as it is. He does not need to be wearing a mask to be the Green Goblin. He looked
He was unbelievable. Do you know it's been like nearly 20 years since he played that role?
Yeah, and yet
you'd never have guessed it.
When he was getting punched and punched and punched, and he was just laughing at him, just like, come on in, more.
Oh my god! Do you know? I forgot how beefed up that Green Goblin was, cause this was something that I was going to raise later on. The fighting in this, was a different level of fighting. I'd only seen it really in, I'd say, in Endgame, where Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man go up against Thanos. They're like, nah, no one's pulling their punches. But it was at that moment where Spider-Man's like, yeah, something's going on, and then looks at Norman, webs him, and then he's just like, right, okay, but there's something, and this is shown, but they're not explicitly telling me. Tom Holland, or MCU Spider-Man, is not pulling his punches against Norman. Everything in his body is telling him, kill this man instantly, kill him.
Yeah.
At the ferocity of the fighting, like, you're right, when he gets punched by Norman and he rolls down the hallway and then just gets back up, sprints at him, leaps off the wall, gets on his shoulders, and when he punches him, and just the way that Norman Osborn starts smiling, and then he's like, like laughing at him, and then he just keeps on getting punched even more. I was like, oh my goodness, this is very much a Batman and Joker moment. There's a moment in in Arkham Origins, the game. I love all the Batman games. They're amazing, right? But there's a bit where you meet the Joker for the first time and he's blown up a building. Batman's like, how many lives did you just take? And then the Joker's like, well, I don't know, or whatever. And then Batman's just like fuming. Anyway, he punches the Joker a couple of times and it's a quick time event, so you got to press the button at the right time. And you see Batman laying it in to the Joker and he's just laughing, and Batman's like, what's going on? It was just that same level of malice and insanity and craziness that Peter Parker, you can't reason with that. This is where he's like, kill this man. He hasn't even killed Aunt May yet. He was like, kill him now.
Something is really off. Like,
get him off the board. Literally. And it's so amazing. But also there's a nice fight callback. So just after that bit where he's punching him and he's laughing, Willem Dafoe sort of like walks along the corridor a bit, and Spider-Man is elbowing him at the top of his head. It's a callback to when the Winter Soldier has Scarlett Johansson in that same position when it's in Civil War and he's just had the kill order, she gets onto his shoulders and she's elbowing him at the top of his head, and he slams her down onto the table and strangles her, and she's like, you don't even recognize me. It was just a similar callback, but then WWE wrestling moves for the win, because there were two that I was like, I was rolling. I was just like, this is amazing. But it's at this point he power bombs him, jackknife power bombs through a floor, and you're like, Spider-Man then gets up, and then he gets outside, and then you're thinking, oh my gosh, you're thinking, oh man, this guy needs to get to some safety. Then the helicopter light's shining on him. J. Jonah Jameson's on the ground, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's going to climb up to some safety. Nope. Lizard comes down and he's just like, I told you there'd be consequences, and puts him back into Norman Osborn's path. I couldn't believe the level of action and intensity.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is unbelievable.
So good, man.
And then it's at that point where Norman Osborn does another wrestling move. Arn Anderson spinebuster through what, 4 floors? I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is WWE love right here. Like, I couldn't believe it. And then they get down, Aunt May's there, and then the glider comes in, and the way it hits her, you're like, oh.
I was thinking like, nah, okay, it's gonna happen. This is gonna be the
I was like, this is the Uncle Ben moment.
But
this is
they
it.
really lulled us into this false sense of kind of when she got back up and she started talking to him, and it was like, okay, maybe she did survive. Okay, yeah, all she did was get hit by the glider, but then they have the talk.
I was like, nah.
I know. Part of me was like, oh,
she's done.
It's got.
I knew it. Just the way it showed it.
Yeah,
she's done.
Man.
And when she died as well, and the way he's like, stay with me, mate, talk to me,
gut-wrenching, man.
And Happy shows up. Oh, goodness me.
But this is
this
is what I think. Back to the point about the sending them back and all that sort of stuff. It really did show. I mean, there was so many things that Peter did in this that really showed his lack of, maturity, lack of kind of really understanding the stakes of being a superhero. Because he always wanted to be part of the Avengers. He wants to be doing superhero shit, and then it's like, oh, but actually, I want to be with my school friends after he blipped out of existence for a bit, and then he's like, actually, I just want to go on this field trip, and then it's like, but then you have responsibility, so he wants to go to college, but it's not happening, and because of all this Mysterio shit, so he's literally asking to violate everyone's fucking autonomy and say, can you just make them forget, like they have no choice in this. It's a very young teenagers like stupid thing to do, right? And it's like a kind of black and white approach to just, and then it's as he's doing the spell, it's like, oh, actually, but Aunt May should know. I can't go through that again. Oh, Happy should know as well. And then it starts to realize, okay, wait, there's actually a bit more. It's not as simple as that. And then it all building up into even the action, the good action of we need to sort them out first before we send them back has consequences because it leads to Aunt May dying, So it's just a bigger version of, we don't need to see Peter go into a wrestling match or, arguing with Uncle Ben and then, letting the killer get away and then they end up killing Uncle Ben. We don't need to see that again. This was like a bigger drawn out version of that. They put their trust in Norman. He tried to help. And then as a result, he's the one who killed Aunt May. It's the arc that we've been waiting for him. But I think because I was a bit confused as well with the whole dying thing, with them going back and dying. And also I understand why Tom Holland Spider-Man would want to, because he's just been framed for killing someone. This movie literally picks up right after that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think he wants that on his hands again, even if they're going back to different universes.
Good point. Yeah, he'll know.
He'll know. And for all he knows, these are other versions of him which are just like him. And they may be killing their villains. And he's like, well, now I know this. I don't want to kill anyone, even if it's a self-defense thing. I don't want to do that. But if you remember, I know in the trailer that they tried to make it seem that, the people who come through are the people who died fighting Spider-Man or something like that, or just before they died. In the movie, this was like in the official trailer. So people were like speculating, like, what? How is that going to work? And then it's like, At what point are they going to get pulled out? Did Electro even die? Sandman didn't die unless he died later on. Lizard didn't die. How did that work? But in this movie, they make it clear, I think, actually, that I think a lot of people, when I hear the discourse online or wherever else, they're confusing the trailer, which Marvel is known for doing misdirects.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, I wouldn't fully trust that compared to the actual movie, where they actually, I think they make it clear that it's when they find out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man That's when they get pulled in.
Okay, so for Alfred Molina, right, he's having a hell of a day.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, his arms were only a couple of days, weeks old at that point. He's just fought Spider-Man on the train, thought he was dead.
Yep.
Then he's going to make his sun machine. Tobey Maguire's literally just been like, just beating him to a pulp, and then pulled off his mask, and he's like, "Hey, you're like bright but lazy or something." Yeah. That's it. And then he's about to die, and then
he gets pulled in here,
and then he's pulled into this universe where A, magic is real. B, he's in a room where he's been like nanites are real. C, the Spider-Man that he thinks is Spider-Man isn't. D, there's an invisible force field. Like, what the fuck? So he's having a hell of a day. Like, he's absolutely. It's so funny. One of my favourite bits of this movie is where Aunt May says, "Do you want some water? Or fresh or salt?" Because octopus. And then when they raise him up to like put the chip on his neck, where he's just like, "Will the embarrassments never cease?"
Because he's like an established scientist, and he's fully taken out of his moment, his comfort zone. Where he was fully on point with what he had planned to do. And that Aunt May thing also, I think, was a little nod to, in the comics, Aunt May ends up marrying Doc Ock at one point. They actually have a relationship with each other. So I think that was a little nod to like them two having a little, like, it's the way their exchanges is a little bit kind of, I was wondering like, nah, they're not going to throw this kind of thing in there, are they?
They're not going to do that. Yeah.
It was more of a little nod. But if you remember in this movie, Doc Ock says to him, I was there, I was fighting Spider-Man and I had him by the throat. And then he's like, and then I was just here. So there must be some delay to the spell, right? Or something like that. So basically, this is just before he's decided to redeem himself. So he hasn't given that little pep talk to his arms when he's, you listen to me now, that kind of thing, from Spider-Man 2. If you remember in Spider-Man 2, he grabs him. He finds out he's Peter Parker, gives him the brilliant but lazy.
Grabs him by the
neck. And then Peter gives him the speech that Aunt May gave him, which makes him turn it around. So he must have had him by the throat and then got pulled in. That's why he's still like, and then I don't know about the geography of the city, but he must have been pulled out. And then that little section under the bridge or wherever it is in this New York, in the MCU version, doesn't exist.
Is where he is.
He's just there. Yeah. There's no machine. And then he comes up onto the bridge and suddenly it's just like, and it happens to be, that's when Peter's there, but it's just a fucking movie, man. But like, he's there.
It's MCU.
It's just, like we want it, we just let it happen, man.
We want them to meet. Like, it's kind of organic.
Yeah, it's kind of organic. Yeah, you could basically say that he's there. They drown it in the Hudson. You could say that bridge is going over the Hudson River. Okay, so therefore, that's where he is. He pulls himself up. He sees that Spider-Man's there. He happens to be there. He thinks they're just still in the same fight that they were in before.
Exactly.
He doesn't care. All he cares about is, why is my machine gone? He doesn't care that the weather's changed. He notices that Spider-Man's suit is different. He thinks that he's got backup technology or something. All that kind of thing. So and some people ask like, well, what about Green Goblin? How did he get there? And whatever. Yeah,
because it must have, because it does play with time, like really weirdly.
Yeah, but think back to the first Spider-Man film. When did Norman find out that Peter was Spider-Man?
Oh, jeez. Do you know? I watched it the other day and I can't even remember.
It's
early doors.
It's after they have that fight in the burnt building, in the burning building, and he dodges the thing.
Yeah.
He gets the cut. And then he notices it at the Thanksgiving dinner and he says, something's come to my attention. So that means that's when he figures out Peter's Spider-Man. So as he leaves the apartment, he's probably walking back or traveling back to his house. Yeah. That's when he gets pulled. He's not in costume. So some people were like, how did he get there? I don't really believe that he would have seen it happening on TV or something like that. And I'm like, actually.
Yeah, but how did he get the glider? And why is he's coming into this universe tooled up?
There's that. I wonder if he went back to his apartment or something.
On the glider.
Yeah. Or went back, because I think the next scene in the Spider-Man 1, I mean, we have to do some kind of playing around with the, when they get pulled, and there's some leeway with that.
We don't need to do that.
No.
Like we don't.
But as in, like, the film doesn't either.
Too much work.
Yeah, the film doesn't either. But I think that there's good explanations for everyone coming over. It's not when they're just about to die. It's just after they figure out who Spider-Man is, right? And it could be varying times after that.
Which then means at some point, every single rogue, every single possibility is coming to like coalesce at the end of the film. So like Rhino found out in some far-flung universe that Peter Parker. That was
the sad one.
Oh, it's
the
crazy.
Sad part is that, because people always say like, but if you're gonna cure Norman Osborn, and then he goes back to his reality, then they're gonna be fighting in that little graveyard part, and he's not gonna be able to defend himself.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what I thought.
But
I was thinking, wait a minute. Like I thought that it was at the point of death that they were brought there.
No.
So yeah, it's cool that you've said that.
Because I thought that too. I was like, but he's just gonna get killed.
But
but
it would explain like why he's tooled up. Essentially,
he may have gone back, tooled up, and then got pulled into the universe, and then saw that there was a fight happening on the bridge. Spider-Man's there. I don't care. I'm going there. That kind of thing.
Yeah. True.
So he could have just ended up.
Doesn't matter. What an entrance! And I can't.
Good,
and one of the things that I loved about this film is the restraint. Like they didn't blow the load too early, because him fighting Green Goblin on the bridge would have been he would have lost probably. Yeah. But the fact that they saved it for that like really intimate fight in the apartment,
they didn't need the other fight.
Just really gets and it was a great thing to pull those punches,
100%.
And it was just a really, I mean, this film was just unreal, like unreal. I mean, I like what they did with Sandman. He's neither good nor bad. Lizard just kind of chilled for the most part. He's kind of evil, but kind of doesn't do a lot, really.
He still wants to turn everyone into lizards, So that's
he's singular.
That's just his thing,
Electro kind of sees the error of his ways, I guess, but it's not really. It's not really fleshed out. It was just the one thing about Jamie Foxx is when he is charismatic, he is amazing, and when he's given the job, like for you to hate him, you do. I mean, there's only one other role I've seen him like that. It's in a film called Baby Driver.
Oh, yeah.
He plays his character in that. You just dislike him instantly, right? Just like in this one, you're like, I don't like Tom Holland. You can't trust this guy. Like, you know what I mean? I'm on the level. I wouldn't trust him. But anyway, the fact that he's like, the power's different here. Like, no, he's power hungry. So, you know what I mean? Lock that guy down quick.
He will sway big time at the opportunity.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel bad for Doc Ock, man. Like, he's out of all the people that got cured and sent back to their realities. And it's a good thing that Loki came out before this, because then you can explain that when they go back to their reality, it's just a branched timeline.
Correct, yeah. So the movie that we saw him die in, he still dies, but he's actually somewhere else, alive and reconciling.
Yeah. So when Norman Osborn goes back to his reality and he's cured, the events of that timeline won't result in Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. He'll know who Peter is, but he won't die, because he won't be after him.
But will he? Because Doctor Strange says earlier on in the movie, if I do this spell, everybody everywhere will forget who Peter Parker is. Across the multiverse, though.
Yeah, I wondered if that was a multiverse thing or if that was a just in their reality. Because
I'm hoping it's just in their reality.
It's just their reality, because then they don't need it to be across the multiverse. They just need it to be in this reality. That's almost like if what would you call them? If you had like a code or a list of like smart rules or something, if this, then that, then this, then that. If you just take out of the equation that no one knows who Peter Parker's Spider-Man in this reality, then suddenly this reality is exempt from being part of that group of other realities where Peter Parker's identity is known. He's not part of that anymore. His reality, he's not. No one knows he's Spider-Man. So therefore, there's no overlap in the Venn diagram, if that makes sense. All those other universes just continue being whatever they are. That's how I see it. You know, I think because if you do it across multiverses,
I'm sure it's said in the movie.
No,
I'm sure Doctor Strange is like, yeah, everyone everywhere in every universe will forget. I swear it was. Maybe that's the point that I got.
Maybe. I'd have to watch that little bit again. I don't know, but yeah, I think I'd like it to just be this reality. Otherwise, are Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield just going to go back and forget who they are? Do you know what I mean? Because
this is the thing. Like, what are the far-reaching? Like, what's the rules of this bad boy? So, for the sake of the movie, let's just say it's a spell that's for the MCU universe, and then that's it. Because if we start branching out into the multiverse, then it just gets a bit like
shaky. Yeah.
Gets a bit shaky. But it's assumed because they were like, they're all here for you. The fact that they're being pulled in from all these different multiverses where everybody knows who Peter Parker is, Strange is counteracting the spell to alleviate everybody of that knowledge of Peter Parker. That was where. Yeah, that's why they stopped. That's why they went back.
Yeah.
Right?
So how I think of it is that if they're alleviated in this reality, I think Doc Ock, Electro, and the other two Spider-Men, even if they're physically in this reality, in the MCU reality, they're not of the reality, if that makes sense. So the spell doesn't affect them, right? But what it means is that once this is a reality where no one knows that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, they suddenly have no reason to now exist in this. Because remember, the tears...
Great show.
There's been a tear across the multiverse. They've come through because this just this is the one where the spell happened. And remember, he says... Yeah. I just kind of worked that out, saying it out loud as well.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. They're here for you. That's why Doctor Strange says it like that.
Exactly. But now now this reality is not. This reality is exempt from that now because no one knows who Spider-Man is in this reality. So these guys shouldn't even be here. It's part of the code that they're only in realities where people do know who Spider-Man is. And I think, and I also wonder, like, why are some of the other characters not here? It's a bit convenient, right? Why is the other Green Goblin not here? Why is Topher Grace not here? Why is Mary Jane not here? Gwen Stacy, all of them.
It's kind of, I
know why they're not here because I mean it would
answered at the end.
Yeah, well, it's even
you know what I mean?
Earlier on, I think, when he says that he contained them all in that thing, but a few slipped through.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, for our viewing purposes, the few that slip through are going to be the ones that we want to see, obviously, because this movie's for us.
Or the ones that are contractually available.
And that too, right? If Kirsten Dunst was contractually available, they might have brought her in. That could have been interesting.
Well, she doesn't look anything like she used to. If I remember what they could, I would have liked to see like old Mary Jane and Tobey Maguire, just
see
like
how they react with each other, interact with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd been interesting. Yeah,
because it's oh man, it was it was so
good, man. Did you think about oh man, there's just did you know that
there's so
they were
much.
Going to bring Venom in originally in the screenplay. They were going to bring him in because he comes into the universe too.
So let me tell me again. You got a flying Tin Man, and a green guy. What's his name?
I was thinking okay, I'm guessing Venom's going to be in the post-credit scene. That was fine. I was expecting that.
Yeah, the sixth baddie.
Yeah.
I was,
because at the end of Venom 2,
he gets pulled in, doesn't he?
Yeah. So I was like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, they're really doing this then. And
I didn't know that until I saw. Because I haven't seen either Venom films because I can't be asked. But I saw that that end credit scene, and then it was tacked on to this end credit scene. I was like, "Oh, sick!
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Venom knows about the multiverse, and then he leaves behind a little present.
Yeah, and the reason that he comes in is because the symbiotes have a hive mind. He says across universes, not across the universe, across universes. So his symbiote is tapped into what Tobey Maguire's symbiote, who latched onto him.
Jeez,
that's how he knows who he is, right?
And so that's why that symbiote left a little thing on the desk, like, yeah, let's go and get some food.
Yeah, basically. But
like we haven't come here yet.
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh, they just got him in here and then they just threw him out. But I think originally he was going to show up in the final fight, and he was going to come in. So he was going to travel to New York, and he was going to come in thinking that Tom Holland was the bad guy, because that's how he's been presented across the news.
Yeah.
And Venom wants to be the lethal protector, so he wants to be a good guy. So he would have come in and tried to team up and attack Tom Holland. And then at the end, when Tobey Maguire gets stabbed, which everyone fucking screamed in our cinema, man.
Oh, do you know what? How was that not coming? I knew it. As soon as he stopped it, I was like, you're going to kill him off.
But I was thinking, are they really going to kill you? Like, nah.
I was like, you can't. You're not going to do that
ballsy, man.
And the fact that he gets up at the end, and I love the explanation as well, where he's just like, nah, it's all right. I've been stabbed before.
I've been stabbed before. Like, it's really normal for him. But apparently he was going to be close to dying, and then the Venom symbiote was going to attach itself to him and repair him, and then he would come back with the black suit from Spider-Man 3.
That would have been too much.
But they thought that might overcomplicate it, would be a bit too much, so they just removed that. And the second post credits scene was the Doctor Strange 2 teaser trailer.
Yeah,
originally they had an idea to show. I really wish they did this. They were originally going to show Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire back in their original universes.
Cool.
I would have just. I just want to see more of them as well.
There is a deleted scene where Andrew Garfield goes back to his reality, and he's been venomized. Basically, he's got a symbiote attached to him somehow, and he goes back and he sees these kids mucking around, and he literally just like beats the shit out of them.
Oh, has he got like a white T-shirt on or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. And he's just like, he just feeds this one like loads of eggs. I was like, what the hell?
That's another film.
Apparently that's a deleted scene. Oh, is it?
Because I saw that.
I've been duped.
I saw that and I was like, nah, no way. And then
I was like, yeah.
I went in the comments and they were like,
I was like, how would that? Yeah. All right, I've been duped, pricks. But yeah, no. In all fairness, man, it's a really well done film, and it leads up to a status quo of all Spider-Man films. Yeah. Him broke in an apartment. You know, even when the guy goes rent's due on the first of every month, you're like, you're gonna be late. Like, you're done out here. So it reestablishes and also establishes a status quo that we're used to when it comes to Spider-Man.
For sure.
So he's going to struggle to make his way. But I just felt that as a whole, this film was exceptional.
Fucking amazing, right? Did you like his suit at the end? The more comic accurate one, and it's meant to be a combination of Andrew Garfield's and Tobey Maguire's one, because he's like taken on from his mentors, and I was just like, why? Yeah. Why do you keep like? It's like they had my heart in their hand the whole time, and you were just squeezing it at certain points, and then letting me breathe just for a little bit, and squeezing it again, and just There were times when I was just on the edge, like I could have cried at certain parts.
Oh my god! I'm glad that you mentioned that. Right, there was one moment, especially with Tobey Maguire. He is the heart of the film, and he's in it so little. It is when Dr. Octopus shows up.
Oh yeah,
Doc Ock is around, and he goes, and he saves their lives. I think actually, and he's like, Peter, and Peter goes, Otto, and it's the way that he says, it is good to see you, dear boy. Oh my goodness. I was there and I was like, I just couldn't believe. I felt that the warmth of his voice, the bass, the love. I was like, "This is, oh my gosh, this is everything." Anyway, I thought that
Toby
it was
saying,
really well acted.
I didn't pick this up first time watching it, but when Toby says, "How are you?" and he's just like trying to do better. That's one of the first things he says to Otto in Spider-Man 2 when he's like, "Oh, he tells me you're brilliant. He also tells me you're lazy," and he's like, "I'm trying to do better." And then he gives him the whole lecture about, intelligence is a privilege, is a gift, or something like that. You use it for the good of mankind.
Yeah.
And then he uses that speech to reform Otto. And so in this part of the movie, the significance of it felt like that movie came out 2004. So I don't know how old I would have been at that point. Maybe like this is 17 years ago.
10.
So yeah, shit. So if I'm 27 now, that would have been
Quick maths,
10,
bro.
Yeah, 10. Okay, yeah, you got it. So I would have been 10 years old watching that. So to hear then at 27 and to then watch that and have Otto saying, "You're all grown up. How are you?" And him saying, "Just trying to do better." And I'm just like, so am I. Yeah. So am fucking I.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's
I'm still trying to do better.
He is still so quietly lovely about it.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing about
man. Oh,
Tobey Maguire.
I love when he stops the glider as well, because it's him and the Goblin have that. The fact that that's from the original movie, and he says, "I've been thinking about a cure for the Goblin thing for a while now, and it's been years, and he's still thinking about it because it took Norman Osborn, who's almost like a father figure to him, and it took his best friend from him." And it seems like in that Peter Parker, it seems in his nature to not just let that kind of thing slide. He would have been thinking about it and using his intelligence for the good of mankind. So that was a nice explanation for him creating that. And I like the little details when they in the lab and they pull the bag out and they take all the stuff and they all like divvy up their responsibilities. And Tom Holland kind of looks at the Green Goblin one when Toby picks it up and he's like, "Oh, I think I know how to make a cure." Tom Holland's kind of looking at it, and I never picked this up until like the third watch. And then Toby turns to him,
right?
And like you said, Toby's got the empathetic kind of sense. He looks at him, and he knows Tom Holland obviously still is vengeful and wants to kill Norman.
It's just happened,
right? He knows that still, but so he's looking at the Goblin formula like, yeah, we can fix the other guys, but do we really need to fix this guy? And he's looking at him.
Everything in Tom Holland is telling him, get rid of him.
Yeah, exactly. But Tobey Maguire, he's the seasoned one. He knows, he's been through it all.
Correct.
So him looking at him, he fully has that big brother vibe where he's looking at him and he's like, he's picked up on it already, but he's not going to lecture him. He's just saying to him, we have to cure them all.
Yeah.
It's just what we. I love it when they say to each other, it's what we do. And it's
exactly
solidarity with each other. Like it's so simple, but it's very like, it's just who we are. That's just what we do. Kind of take it easy on yourself. That's just what we do. That's what Spider-Man does.
Well, that's also a thing that carries over to Andrew Garfield, where Tobey Maguire's like, "Oh, hang on, like empathy alert." He's just like, no, you're not lame, dude. You're amazing. Like you're actually amazing. Say it with me, sort of thing. And especially like in the lab where, Andrew Garfield, you can tell is the more sciencey one, like naturally sciencey one,
probably
because
the most intelligent one, I think.
Yeah, because like it's just the way that he picks up his stuff, and they're like, "Oh, so the lizard's yours, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, I killed him before. I'll cure him again." just like that, just as easy. So and they're like, "Okay," because they've been working on stuff, or they are working on stuff. He's like, "No, done it before. Do it again." So there's that. I do like the fact that there are so many different facets. Like they're all naturally very intelligent. One clearly more so than the other two. One has the heart more so than the other two. Like it was just brilliant. They all bring something to the table.
So
but
good, man.
I think Andrew Garfield, like he's a fantastic actor. Anyway, I've always thought he's great. I saw a film with him and who's another great actor, Kylo Ren.
Adam
Adam Driver.
I heard of that.
It's a film called Silence. Not what I would have imagined I would have enjoyed at all.
Really?
It's not. I wouldn't say it's an enjoyable film. It is. It's well, actually, it's heinous in parts.
Oh.
It's amazing. Andrew Garfield turns in a fantastic performance, man. Like, so since that film, I've been like, yeah, this guy, like, I think he's brilliant. And seeing him bring so much more depth to Spider-Man, like he's gutted and he hasn't recovered.
Yeah.
Because we don't know at what point have they been brought through. Because Andrew Garfield looks way older.
Yeah.
Like the guy's 39 in real life,
yeah.
right? Looks way older, and he even says it. I've been way more sort of like vengeful.
Yeah.
I don't pull my punches. I'm angry and this, that, and the other. He's lived with Gwen's death a long time, and this film sort of provided a catharsis. Like, no, I got this. Whereas Tobey Maguire's kind of like proud dad in the back, like, the universe is in safe hands, sort of thing. I now have to go back to my reality and explain to MJ why I'm bleeding everywhere.
Why I disappeared for like 12 hours or however long the timeline is.
Yeah.
I wasn't just out and
then MCU Spider-Man has to go through it.
Yeah.
Like he's now gone through the origin. Now he has to go through the rest of it and figure it all out. Because now Venom's on the board.
For sure.
Vulture's still out there. Scorpion is still out there.
That's true.
So we know we got at least 3 enemies, right?
Bring in Kraven the Hunter or something at some point. That would be great as well.
Yeah.
Who
Who could play Kraven the Hunter though? He's hard as
I don't know.
Frank Grillo. Oh no, he's already in the MCU. He's Crossbones.
Oh yeah. Oh, that could have worked. Originally.
He's an old boy, but he is a specimen.
Do you I like with the other two Spider-Men as well. You're talking about the differences between them and stuff. What I think is really cool how they brought in Andrew Garfield and he's in his Spider-Man outfit. So he seems like he doesn't have that balance in him where he's like either one.
Good point.
He's just fully Spider-Man.
Good point.
So they find him. He's just in this alley looking around. So he's probably out. So I mean, in his universe, he's probably doing more Spider-Man stuff than he is doing Peter Parker
than he is
stuff.
living.
And it seems that way because he's not really moved on from his grief, or at least come to terms with it. And because he like tears up as soon as he talks about it, or he as soon as he saves MJ, and when he comes through and everything, and he's just that kind of guy. Whereas you have Tobey Maguire walk through and he's just in really normal clothes, but he's still got the suit underneath, so he's ready to go when needs be, but otherwise he's just living his life as normal. That's
what I really liked as well. Just like, oh, did you bring your spider suit? And he's just like, of course.
And it's like the little
pulls his top down.
Yeah, like I love how they kept hinting it. So even when they show the two masks just on the construction site and they're just hanging off the edge when they're talking to each other and they're just stretching, and I was like, oh, come on, get to it, man, get to it. And when they all started swinging together, I was just, I couldn't actually believe it. I was fully sat there shaking my head in disbelief.
Yeah. Just like, this is real now. This is canon.
I went on Twitter and people were like, post No Way Home Blues is real, because I didn't know what to do with myself afterwards. Other people were saying, did I actually watch that movie, or was that just all a dream? And I was like, bruv, it's just, even thinking about it now, I can't believe we're talking about it. We're literally talking about a film which had all 3 of them in it.
Yeah. It breaks open. It breaks open what is possible now for films in general. Listen, mark my words, because the movie industry is kind of bereft of original ideas. You wait until you get like a Marvel versus DC movie or something like that. You wait.
I did wonder, would they ever do that? I wonder at what point is too far. At which point
that's
too
far.
That's too far.
That's way too far. But in the multiverse, there will be crossovers like that. I'm talking about the infinite range of
course,
possibilities,
yeah.
right? I'm just talking
Yeah,
about
of
that.
course.
But no, I think MCU are so proud of their brand; they would never share the limelight with DC. Why would you give those guys are terrible?
Yeah.
Even though they're trying to bring out a Black Adam movie with The Rock, like The Rock is, I think he called himself franchise Viagra. Like franchises get better when
He's just in it.
when you draft
Yeah.
him in. Take Fast and the Furious 5, sick film, probably my favorite Fast and the Furious out of all of them. And a lot of them are crap, right? But he's in it. He's amazing. Brings that intensity, man. The people's champion, The Rock, the Brahma Bull. Anyway, the great one, the people's champion.
Oh man. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, the thing is, yeah, it's kind of broken everything because with Doctor Strange, if they're rolling in, Patrick Stewart and the X-Men, who's to say we're not going to see live action Fantastic Four because Reed Richards is part of the Illuminati, right? We might get a new Black Panther.
Yeah.
We might get a Tom Cruise Iron Man, for example.
Yeah, I've heard that rumor as well. Yeah.
Well, because Tom Cruise was in to play Iron Man. I think either they offered him and he was like, "No, I'm too busy," or he wanted to go. No, I think they offered him and he was like, "No, I can't do it. I'm doing Mission Impossible," something like that. They'll get in Tom Cruise and de-age him. By the way, like they de-aged Alfred Molina.
Yeah, seamless.
Amazing. That's how you do it. Also, I noticed he always wore his sunglasses because the hardest thing to de-age is the eyes. So he always wore his sunglasses. You can de-age the skin, but the hair,
the
whatever.
Eyes give it away.
The eyes give it away. But also the voice, especially when he says, "It's good to see you, dear boy." Like that it just moved me. Like that was a genuinely heartwarming.
And they had the music from the original trilogy and that.
I was just gonna say that. Honestly, it was just brilliant. And also, speaking about the movie, so there was that kind of ding sound when Green Goblin's changing and like Tom Holland is kind of like trying to figure out what's going on, right? Did you notice that throughout the fight, that ding slowly like goes into like it's like a vocal chorus just held at one note, and it's just getting louder and louder, and it's just as they're fighting ferociously, he's being laughed at, and it's just like this, and it's getting louder and louder of this like vocal. I've watched it again today. Just that scene, I watched it just once, and I was like, I need to watch it again. That's
an amazing detail,
masterfully done. Yeah. It's it adds so much weight to the punches. The way that they film, that like everything's like close, like all the angles are really tight, like on Spider-Man's face, on Norman Osborn's face, and then you've got just the lens is then restricted to within the hall itself when they fight, and it's just all claustrophobic and all like a struggle for life. Like that fight for me is one of the best fights Marvel have ever put together. Genuinely, it was just astounding to watch that. I couldn't believe how taken in by that I was, man. Like it was just, man, this film it's a 10 out of 10. Like
this
for me,
amazing,
it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
it's a 10 out of 10.
Even
easy
meme implementation, like I'm something of a scientist myself. The because that gets memed to death, and then I was not expecting them to say that. And then the pointing thing, I didn't even realize that they did it, but they did it in the lab when he says Peter.
Yes.
And they're all like, at the time, like, there's no guarantee that those actors would have that chemistry with each other, because it's not like.
Absolutely not.
It was all separate, them being cast for these movies and whatever else.
But think about it. They're hugely in love with the role of Spider-Man. They were invested in it.
True,
You could tell when they were all acting, they all love being Spider-Man, and they've all clearly got an affinity towards it because they love it. They love the character that they've portrayed.
Man.
So why wouldn't that transmit?
That's true.
Together, you could honestly tell that every single actor in this movie wanted to be there. Sure. It's not like X-Men Dark Fate where Jennifer Lawrence clearly was saying, "Kill me off. I hate the X-Men." Like Michael Fassbender is like, "This series sucks.
Yeah.
Get me out of it." Even they got like the charisma vacuum, Jessica Chastain. They got her in there, and it was like, you ain't added nothing. Like she's so boring. I'm being like overly harsh. In Molly's game, she's pretty cool, but Jessica Chastain is not what you need in a movie like that. You need somebody out there, live, bombastic, somebody bigger than life. Yeah. Anyway, but you could tell that with this movie in particular, it's solid, man. Like it's so solid. So solid crew. Yeah, honestly.
Mate,
so solid vampire.
There's so much to like. I feel like we haven't even discussed everything. That's how much it goes into this film, and yet you could still watch it.
Yeah.
Like my parents went and watched it in Singapore, and like they loved it as well. And my mum was like saying that she really enjoyed it, and she didn't even realize it was a 2.5 hour movie, and you know she loves it when all the Spider-Men are swinging together. She says it just looks so beautiful and stuff. I was like, Mum, finally something we can connect on. No, I'm joking, but like because the fact I always keep thinking about Tobey Maguire stopping the glider from hitting Norman.
Yeah,
and it had to be him, because him being the one to actually not to stop him from, like, the fact that they close up on Toby's face and the look on his face, like the fact that he's trying to hold it back, but he's got that look on his face, like, really don't want to do this. Like, just
he's talking
to
him
just through his facial expression and just being like,
yeah,
just trust me, I have been there, right? And it's just like him telling the story of Uncle Ben and everything like that, and you're like, man, I was there. We were there and we saw that.
Yeah, we saw it. We saw it. Because Tom Holland doesn't know, but we, the audience, know. Like this, I think there's a phrase. Oh, I can't. It's not pathos. There's basically that the audience knows something the characters do not.
Yeah, I don't know what the term
and
is.
That's basically like Tom Holland catches up to what we know about the other two. Like they've lost, but it's that rooftop scene where Tobey Maguire basically puts in two double tap to the head with the killer lines. Doesn't say anything else. Just literally boom, boom. You're ours now. Like don't worry. Like we got you.
Yeah.
It was very much that, and the way that Tom Holland kind of leans into them as well.
Yeah,
like he kind of leads them. Like I was part of the Avengers. What are they?
Yeah.
Are they a band? You know, the fact that he's able to kind of identify problems and be like, no, let's take them off the board one by one, was really cool because it is his movie. But I like the fact that he leans on what the other two are saying. Like he really leans on them.
Yeah,
emotionally.
That's a great point you just brought up. I didn't leave this movie forgetting that. Oh yeah, shit. This is like, you know, like Captain America: Civil War. I think they built up the characters enough. I sometimes in my head confuse that with being an Avengers movie because of all the different characters in there.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have whole scenes with like Tony talking to Peter Parker when he goes to get him from Queens. You kind of forget it's a Captain America movie. At no point in this movie did I ever forget that this was Tom Holland's Spider-Man's movie. Even with the other two Spider-Man,
absolutely right.
They really helped move the story. They really felt integral to the story, and they felt integral for his character. I think Tobey Maguire actually said that one of his things when he comes back into the movie was, don't want to give too much information about what I've been up to in my universe, what he's been up to in his universe. Keep it vague. We need to focus on Tom Holland because this is still his movie. It all needs It all needs to be in service of him, and that's what it felt like. I like that Tom Holland, he's at this point on the rooftop scene, such a good scene because he's actually he's not just over friendly to them to begin with. And even Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, when they first see each other, they like web at each other and do a little tack. And Tobey's a bit more seasoned, so he shoots the other web shooter, you know, and Andrew's got to give him that look like, huh, okay, I see.
Yeah, like you're legit. Yeah. Like you're me. I thought they were going to do the, you know, into the SpiderVerse where Miles Morales and like the original Chris Pine Spider-Man, they look at each other and they're like,
the sense.
They're like, hey, wait, they get the sense, and they're like, oh wait, you're like me. I thought I was alone. Like I thought they were going to kind of do that, but they don't. They're kind of like.
I thought that too because I thought at one point when they're all hugging Tom Holland on the rooftop and he kind of looks up before Zendaya says to him, Peter, there's some people here. He's already looking up and has this confused look on his face.
Oh, fair enough. Like he knows.
He wondered if that was them doing that, of him kind of sensing that there are some other people here, but they're not threats, but they're not, he's still suspicious.
Normal.
Yeah. And some people think that I watched a video the other day that said that they thought that there might have been a three-person, like a 3 Spider-Man fight, like basically Andrew and Toby versus Tom Holland on that rooftop, and then when they calm down, they have their conversation, because of how kind of hostile and angry he is still, and how vengeful he is, Tom Holland.
Maybe.
I wonder if that could have been pretty cool. But then I think, yeah, you would have had Toby fighting in his youth pastor garms or whatever. So
so funny.
Yeah. But oh man,
so funny.
Doc Ock though, he's got the raw deal in all this, because he's got the redemption arc. He's the villain that helps, and you feel for him, and we all love him. But we know that when he goes back to his universe, regardless of if he's depowered or back in control of his arms, he's still going to have to drown the machine somehow. And it's going to be through...
And he's going to...
Yeah. But Tom Holland, like that thing you said, he doesn't know that. He doesn't know the exact details of, that universe. So he's still going to send them back. But...
he's going to send Alfred Molina back, probably in the process of building that machine. So doesn't have to turn it on.
I don't think they get to choose when they turn him back. Shit. I think they take him back to when they came off. So when they...
Oh, literally. Doc, so he's gone through all of that, realised the error of his ways. He's gone back to his universe and he's gone, Peter, get out of here. I'll drown it. And then he dies.
But then that's kind of what happened in Spider-Man 2, just in a smaller space of time.
That's exactly...
Actually, it was just his Spider-Man who convinced him.
Exactly.
So it's all wrapped up so nicely.
What a
fucking
film, mate. This film was a lot. Like, I'm now exhausted, like having gone through it. Like, it's a lot. Yeah. And there was one point. Oh yeah, the fact that now in this Spider-Man trilogy we've had 2 references to Miles Morales.
Oh yeah.
You know, in Far From Home, it was like, I got a nephew.
Homecoming.
Is it? Oh yeah, yeah. There you go. I got a nephew, and then when Jamie Foxx says to Andrew Garfield, I thought you'd be black, man. Like, there's got to be a black Spider-Man out there, and it's just like, Miles Morales is coming. So, yeah, man, I was fully on board. I cannot wait to show this trilogy to my son, my eldest. I cannot wait. He's going to be so gassed.
Does he know? Has he seen the original movies? So the Toby and...
No, he hasn't seen any. I haven't shown him anything. Like, I'll wait till he's like of age, and we'll do like a...
Yeah, I was going to say, are you going to show him
what I'll do?
Those ones.
I'll do it strategically. Yeah, sure. I'll show Tobey Maguire first, then I'll show Andrew Garfield. But I'll do this over the course of a year, and then we're also going to be doing like the Marvel stuff. So this film is what, Marvel movie 27, 28. Yeah. So even if I do like a Marvel movie a week. Or a Marvel movie every 2 weeks. Yeah. That's a long old time. Yeah, man, that's over a year. So you could build up quite a lot of not suspense, but just like throw him off the scent almost.
Because I did wonder, but like younger audiences.
Meanwhile, he's got the internet.
Oh, that's the other thing as well. So
he's got the internet. So
what spoilers did you have coming into this?
3 Spider-Men and Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin.
Oh, that's it. Okay, fine. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't know anything about. And that Doctor Strange, like, because I saw like a bit of the trailer, so I knew Doctor Strange was in it.
Yeah, but I mean,
but that was about it. I had no other idea.
Spoilers. So you didn't know that
none.
They were trying to cure the villains. You didn't know that Aunt May was going to die. Everyone was going to forget who he was at the end and stuff.
Nope, nothing.
That's not bad.
I mean. Let's I'm pretty good at avoiding spoilers. Cool. Like I will not, if I want to, I will not know stuff. Yeah. But I was truly I just couldn't believe that the actions had the most dire consequences for MCU Spider-Man, and that the fact at the end where no one remembers him, like even at his Aunt May's like grave, like it was just driving the point home. Like, dude, you don't really know what you've done to yourself, and it's the most grave like consequences like I've ever seen. I couldn't believe it when he says you've got to what's the word? Like you've got to do it strange, like do the spell. Like even Doctor Strange is like, you've got no idea what you're asking.
But he's doing the Spider-Man thing, isn't it? He's just thinking about everyone else.
That's exactly it. And it cost him everything.
And that's why he's the best fucking superhero, hands down. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Watch this movie, bro.
Oh, he's elite.
Yeah, like. Also, I was thinking for younger audiences when they watch this, who have grown up with the MCU, but maybe didn't see the original Spider-Man movies. I wonder how they reacted to watching this and seeing that.
So do I.
Because I have younger cousins, maybe 15,
but I don't care.
I had like younger cousins, 15 or 16 years old, but they seem to know about. I don't know if they were just outliers where they just like Spider-Man a lot and they knew about the other films through memes. I mean, to be fair, the younger generation would probably have been on Instagram and all those kind of things and seen people saying, "Oh man, it would be sick if we had a SpiderVerse movie." They probably saw Into the Spider-Verse, and then they probably would have gone and done their research because it'd be so much easier to do that now, to just go and find clips on YouTube or breakdowns, and they might not have even seen the films, but still been like, "Man, it would be sick if they have 2 other Spider-Man."
Yeah, let's get clued up.
So actually, to be fair, it's probably the climate that we're in. They could do that. Because my mum and dad,
I don't think it'll lessen the impact. Like it's just a crucially well-made movie.
Yeah. No, you're right. Because if you went in not knowing that there were 2 other Spider-Men, you could just think that that's just part of the film. Like, oh, okay, they're introducing different versions. Cool.
Yeah, like everybody's aware of like the multiverse, a multiverse. Like everybody, it's a concept that everybody has a kind of reference point to and window to. So, it doesn't alienate new audience. It doesn't alienate new audience members. It doesn't, mistreat its current fan base at all. If anything, it rewards them for sticking by them for so long, man. Like over this, because it's just one of the it's hands down the best Spider-Man movie ever made. Like they will never top this.
I was gonna say.
I said,
what do you think is gonna happen? Like, what do you think? Do you think moving forward, there's gonna be a bigger Spider-Man event movie that could happen?
Possibly. I think they'll do another trilogy of Spider-Man. Easy.
Yeah, like they'll do the trilogy, and I think they'll make it a bit more friendly neighborhood Spider-Man-ish because people really wanted that, and they've got that now.
They've got that now.
I wonder now. I feel like there's still big moments that can happen. So, introducing Miles Morales, people are going to get gassed for that when they see like that. There's going to be he's going to be introduced. Bringing back Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire for different things. I don't know. Like I think Doctor Strange 2, there's a rumor that Tobey Maguire might come back. Sam Raimi is directing that film. Briefly.
Yeah. And because you were, oh no, he wouldn't. No, wait. So would would Tobey Maguire have memory of what has just happened?
I would like it
because of the multiverse. So I'd imagine he would, right? And he'd turn around to Strange and be like, "Dude, I know you." Strange will be like, "What are you talking about?" And he'll be like, "No, you did some spell. You're a wizard. I came to your universe." Like, da da da. Yeah. Doctor Strange is gonna know basically that Peter Parker
Spider-Man
in that universe is Spider-Man, right? He's gonna know it somehow. Either that might be how Professor Xavier informs him, or it might be Tobey Maguire. I want to see more Tobey Maguire. I really want to see that. I really do.
I really want to
like roll him into the MCU.
I'd love to see more Andrew Garfield as well. That's what's the beauty of this film, is that it made me want to see both of them in action again. And I read somewhere that someone on the team was really interested in the idea of just later down the line doing an entire movie with them 3 back together, but it's for the entire movie. So the movie is centered around them 3 almost as a group or as a trio, and kind of
I'd watch the hell out of that.
Give me the 3-hour cut. Give it to me now, right?
Raw and uncut. Yeah. Give it.
Do the Clone Saga if you want. I know that was panned in the comic books, right? With all those other Spider-Men. But then, do you know what's funny is that this story was based on this. People before this movie came out, There are all these YouTube videos saying, "Oh man, I hope they're not going for this storyline, which is called One More Day or something like that." I can't remember what it was called.
Right.
And people hated that story in the comic books because basically it retconned a lot of things. So basically it was Peter Parker makes a deal with Mephisto about everyone forgetting that he's Spider-Man to protect his loved ones, but then Mephisto wants his marriage in return. So basically he takes away his marriage to MJ. MJ will never remember him, all that kind of stuff. And he just basically goes back, starts from scratch again. And people hated it. And they kind of retconned that retcon afterwards because people just didn't really respond well to it. And people were like, oh, I hope they're not going to do that for this movie because we hated that storyline. But they somehow did it really well. So now I'm thinking, fuck if everyone didn't like the comic book version of the Clone Saga. Bruv, bring in Scarlet Spider-Man. Bring in Ben Reilly Spider-Man. Bring in the fucking armored up guy and the guy with the 8 arms and all that sort of shit. Spider-Gwen. Go back to Tobey Maguire's universe. Say that he's got a kid, and I can't remember what her name is, but she inherits his genetics, and she ends up with spider powers as well in the comic books. You can start a whole new thing from that, like, and we'd love to see that because he's in dad mode now. Look at him, like.
Absolutely, and it comes across in the movie, like totally, like I'm older, I'm better, I'm wiser, sort of thing, you know. So it's really
much possibility, man. So much possibility for all that shit. Oh man, it's just, I couldn't stop thinking. I got COVID like what, a week after, and you know when you when you have fever dreams and it's about stuff that you've recently kind of taken in. Oh mate, I dreamt about Spider-Man all the fucking time, and it was the same dream every night, the same fever dream. It was really fucking weird, and I couldn't make any sense of it. Luckily, it didn't put me off Spider-Man. You know those fever dreams, they can really put you off the thing you dreamt about.
Yep.
My love for Spider-Man was strong enough. It survived the fever dreams because every night I went to bed, had this weird fucking hallucinatory dreams, and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man played a big part in those dreams, and it would freak me out every night. But I just couldn't wait to go see that movie again. Even when I was in my ill state, I was like, I would watch that movie right now, even though I feel like I'm dying.
Yeah,
I would watch that movie right now.
It's a great movie.
So fucking good.
Do you know? Like, I know that this is a new segment to our podcast and all of that jazz. But I think what a nice way to start, like, reviewing films of something that is really well done. It's a well done trilogy, standalone trilogy that is just brilliant. So, I mean, it does a lot. It's a film that does a lot. It lays a lot to rest. It sets up a new dynamic going forward. It breaks open a narrative, a story. It does. There's a lot of stuff that it does. It adds depth to already established characters. Yeah. It gives the older actors, gives them so much room to play. I mean, Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe, monsters, absolute powerhouses. When they are on screen, they just dominate.
So good.
Jamie Foxx, they beef him up. Like, I like the change in character. No, he's not shy. He's like, wow, overwhelmed, corruptible, human ultimately, but he's beefed up, like totally beefed up.
For real, man.
I mean, the Sandman as well. I mean, the way that they like overlay their powers, especially Sandman and Electro, you're like, good lord.
Yeah.
Like, they give Sandman like singular story. I just want to get back to my daughter. Yeah. That is it. I'll beat anybody up who I need to. But it's oh, my goodness. And they also give Tom Holland the hardest job of all. Like, he has to reconcile with magic, alternate dimensions, losing a loved one, and ultimately doing the right thing, even though every fiber of his being is telling him, kill that man. It is such a good struggle because it's more than emotion in that point. It's just that flat scene or the apartment scene just told me he's on for the kill.
100%, man.
Oh boy. So look, man, anybody that's made it this far, in the podcast, just go and see the
I
film.
mean, yeah,
Like even if you've listened to this podcast and not seen the
just go
film,
see it.
just go and watch
just
it.
Go watch it.
We're not even doing it. We're not even doing it justice. We haven't even spoken about the flipping Doctor Strange Spider-Man battle
Mate.
properly.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't even spoken about that. We haven't even spoken about so much.
So much.
So many good scenes.
Like them
like
talking
you
on
know,
the construction site. We didn't really dive into that.
didn't
The
talk
web
into
shooter
that.
thing.
Yeah,
The fact that they
exactly.
mentioned Toby shoots out of his wrist.
It's so
so
funny when they talk
man.
about that.
Everything I wanted. So good. So good. Everything I wanted was in this film and more. And there's so much that we haven't. We didn't even mention like Daredevil as well.
yeah. I mean that the bit where the brick goes through the window and it's Matt Murdock when he makes his cameo. I was so impressed by that. I didn't expect it.
So good. That's like what 15 minutes into the film, and I'm in the cinema thinking, okay, if this has happened, which I've just seen rumors of, what the fuck else is going to come into this film?
Well, exactly. Is Luke Cage going to make an appearance? Because he's the only notable one that I can see any use. But you know,
mate,
it's or the Punisher. Like, bring the Punisher into the MCU.
Yeah,
Spider-Man versus the Punisher. Yes,
that would be pretty cool. That would actually be sick.
Actually.
I didn't think about that.
That the Punisher is the reason I know about him was because of the animated series and. When he rolled in with his van and tactical and that, and he was just like, "No, we're going to kill all these enemies." And Spider-Man's like, "Whoa, dude, don't do that." Nah, if anybody can do it, what's his name? Oh, I forget his name. It was the Punisher's name. Shane from Walking
I can't
Dead.
remember his actual name.
John Bernthal.
Oh, okay.
John Bernthal, unbelievable actor. I'm
just reading this thing about how the writers Summers and McKenna, they had some ideas about who to bring in. No worries. And they were going to bring in some big artists, big characters,
actors.
But then they had to keep dialing it back. Big actors, big characters, and they were gonna dial it back. And there's even some artwork you can find of how they were even gonna bring Toby and Andrew in, and it was gonna be through. I think there was an idea for Wanda to be in this film and to bring them in, or American Chavez. What's her name? Yeah, she's gonna
Chavez.
She's gonna be in Doctor Strange 2, but she may have been introduced into this movie and brought the other two in, but then they gave that to Ned, and then they kind of set up the fact that he may have inherited the ancient magic early on in the film. And I didn't notice that until I watched it again, that they showed a bit more of that actually earlier on in the film. I was like, this was not how I was expecting them to come in. But everything flowed and felt really intuitive. So the fact that he's just saying, "I wish I could see Peter," and then it brings up one of the Peters, and then it's like bringing up another one. I was like, I kept thinking, how are they going to bring in these other Spider-Men if they bring them in? I just couldn't figure out what that would look like. Do they know that they're coming into the universe? Do they willingly come in? Like, someone bring them in? Like, the way they did it was not how I expected it to be. But I was very happy, very satisfied with how it went. I want more. I actually don't think that they should stop here. I think that they should explore all the other opportunities that they can get out of this, man, because
they will. They're going to do another 3 films with Tom Holland. Like, he's onto a goal. They're going to do another trilogy. Real. So don't worry about that.
I'm not worried about that. For real. I mean, even bringing in other fucking like Spider-Man team-ups and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. No, it's all on the cards, man. Like, I hope they keep the multiverse open in Doctor Strange. It all depends on what happens there.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So if they keep it open, then all bets are off. X-Men are going to get rolled
Deadpool.
in.
Potential.
I
think he's in the he's in the poster. He's on one of the shards of
Deadpool,
glass.
Morbius.
Oh yeah, because he's got his own solo movie coming.
Yeah, that's
been
it.
pushed back a little bit.
All that stuff.
That's been pushed back a little bit. Some people are thinking that Andrew Garfield has gone in and done some shoots for that. Because in the trailer for that, there's some graffiti which shows Spider-Man on the wall, and it says murderer. And we know in this movie, that Andrew Garfield says that he stopped pulling his punches, which leads to people think that when he went into his vengeful side, he may have actually killed someone, and then he might be in Morbius's universe and Venom's universe potentially.
Yeah,
because it's got the
makes
same
sense.
Oscorp tower as well that the Amazing Spider-Man does, but no one knows yet. We don't know exactly how this is all tying together. So yeah, but yeah, that's enough talking.
Yeah.
So you've rated this a 10 out of 10.
Easy
Yeah,
peasy.
I kind of guessed that's how it would be.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, people, I'm going to wrap it up.
For sure.
So, look, thank you very much for tuning in to the K&D movies. I mean, this has been a blast, and I've loved it. Don't know what we're going to cover next time, but we will have something for you in a couple of
Figure
weeks.
it out.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace. Oh, shit. We fucked it up. We're so gassed.
Yeah,
We'll just leave it at that.
got a brain
We'll just
fog.
leave it like that.